Yes.
Alice Owen.
Yes.
Haley Amos.
Yes.
Louis Johnson. Dion Crawford.
Yes.
Carol Weiss Chairwoman. Carol Secretary. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, council and executives. Well, thank you, Jeremy. Jesse?
Good afternoon, OE Township, Padamia. Here's Brett.
Thanks, Jesse. Mr. Chairman, Council, I guess this is just a continuation of our discussion yesterday. We discussed the push to move forward with the phase 2 of the COVID quarantine and isolation facility to build out phase 2 based on the previous direction from Council of a behavioral health facility. As discussed yesterday, included in that pricing that Dean Marski had presented, there is a slight increase, and that's what we're requesting the approval of for the 20 behavioral health units, extra conference rooms, et cetera, et cetera. Matt has the documentation, the formal change order document, similar to what you guys have seen in the past, for final signature. And along with that, just asking for final signature and execution of the change order for the daycare, for the inclusion of the FF&E materials, much like the food pantry and the phase 1 COVID project. Those FF&E materials, those funds were already allocated within the project in the CARES Act funding. It's just merely rolling those funds from the overall project budget into the construction budget so we can purchase those materials. So that was previously directed to CCC to move forward with, so we are just kind of closing that loop in terms of having the final signature on it and moving forward. So again, Matt has all that documentation. I'm sure he'll share that with you. Any questions, again, from yesterday's discussion or any that came up now? I'm open to any of those. So.
Any questions, leadership?
I guess the one thing that I will add is the actual document. It has the values as stated yesterday, and then there is a line item 3 on there for the FF&E materials. It's my understanding that it would be the desire of everybody that the FF&E materials for furniture materials and linens and all that stuff would be included for phase 2 also. So that number is also included within this document. So. And again, that's the same values that were shown on Mr. Marski's document yesterday.
I just want to make sure council understands everything, so that's why I'm always asking. Any questions or council? Go ahead, Matt.
Yes, sorry about this. Typically, I'm much more organized, but these change orders came up. The first change order, dated on January 11th of 2021, pending change order number 3, is for owner-provided FF&E. The change order will increase the contract sum by $201,500. So it's a cost increase, right?
No, that's a contract increase for CCC. Overall project value does not change. That money's already been allocated within the project.
So the new contract sum will be $2,544,278.
Correct.
Which is within the original is within the original proposed budget limit of $2.8 million. So the contract sum increases, but it doesn't go over what the original allocation is.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
So moved by Olanisee. Second by Buffalo Lake. Question by Tokenoa. If you don't mind, read back that motion though, so it's clear when they call for vote.
I just emailed it to you just now, and I have a copy here too. Yes, it's a motion to approve pending change order number 3, dated January 11th, 2021, with Consolidated Construction Co. for the SWO COVID-19 daycare facility for a contract sum increase of $201,500 for a total contract price of $2,544,278, and to authorize the chairman to sign.
Thank you, Matt. And also, I just want to make sure that's clarified before you guys, when you take that, make your motions. Yes.
Clay Kirk Jr.
Yes.
Dallas Owen.
Yes.
Haley Amos.
Yes.
Louis Johnson. Deanna Crawford.
Yes.
Curtis Bissonnette.
Yes.
Brandon Dipsy-Wanda.
Yes.
Travel Vice Chairwoman.
Yes.
Travel Secretary. Chairman.
Thank you, members of council and executives.
The next change order, this one is for the quarantine and isolation facility. This change order just came in today at January 27th. The change order here will increase the contract sum by $266,961 for a total contract price of $6,978,221. So my question then is, the contract sum is not really a contract price increase because it's still within the authorized amount of 7.1, is that correct?
No, again, just to clarify, if you think of the overall project budget and allocation out of the CARES Act funding, the original allocation was $7.1 million. That also included costs that are not associated with the CCC specific contract. Those would be design and engineering fees by HKG, some testing costs, etc., that aren't associated with my specific contract. So this would be a request for $266,961 is what we're saying is going to exceed the $7.1 million that's previously been allocated. That cost does include a $40,000 allowance or contingency amount within the scope of work, or the amount. Again, as discussed yesterday, any contingency funds that aren't spent go back to the tribe, and you know, it's your option to either absorb those back into your CARES Act fund for other things, or if there's other items within the project that you would like to fund, the contingency funds can be used for that, as these funds are, my understanding, available up through December 31st of 2021. So again, the overall amount, it's as stated on the document that can be given to you guys, it's $131,780 is the additional scope. That's, as discussed yesterday, a larger lift station, key card access, designed to a behavioral health facility, and everything comes along with extra rooms, conference rooms, etc. And then there's a line item 3 within that document that shows $135,181. That's the cost for the FF&E. So that's TVs and conference room equipment in the conference rooms, office desks and furniture, file cabinets, TVs, beds, nightstands, dressers in all of the rooms, and linens in all of the rooms, bathroom down to the garbage cans and stuff like that. So a total increase from the previously allocated amount of $7.1 million of $266,961. So there's a lot of detail, I apologize.
So the new contract sum is still within the 7.1 that was authorized for the entire facility? How does it impact the 7.1?
Correct. No, that, again, the number, the 6.978 that's shown on there, that would be my contract value. The 7.1 includes my contract, which is shown here at the 6.711 million. There's other fees associated with that of approximately 280 million. So the request on our behalf, or that we're requesting, is an additional $266,000 over the 7.1 for added scope.
Yeah.
$20.
How much, I know we've asked this, and I don't really know, but how much
This
is
amount right here.
of the CARES Act funding left? And that would be the funding source, correct? So then how much do we have left that we could reallocate to that? Thank you.
I'm trying to understand, I couldn't hear you. Are you asking how much is left of the CARES funding? Is that?
Yes, how much do we have left of the CARES Act funding that could be reallocated to that? Because if it's above and beyond, above the 7.1 that was already allocated, we'll have to take it from another place where it was allocated and reallocate that. So where do we have wiggle room in those other, I guess, I don't even know what they're called. I don't think they're line items, because they said it's the same line item. So where would we get that funding? Where would the funding come from? Thank you.
So I would like to table this until I can get this figured out. We're in the process, and that's what I spent the last 2 days doing with my staff, is getting these expenditures out by project so I can be able to see where we have that cost savings at. Right now, I'm not able to do that, to answer your question. And I would feel comfortable if we table this until I can get to a definite understanding of where we have that excess funding.
Table. Jesse.
Oh, what are you talking, Jez? I guess if some of this doesn't get approved, then the project comes to a stop. Because previous council only approved to where we are now, which is the shell. And they actually went a little bit beyond that by putting all the walls in that you saw yesterday. The other thing is, the new council wasn't aware of this, but in August, when Matt and I came on, CCC did a change order, a deduct of $400,000 off the original price to stay within these guidelines. So there's been a deduct of this project already, and that's where some of this, like the FFE and stuff, was taken off, I believe at the time, because to stay under that budget line. So this is the first increase, and I don't think it's very much, because half of that is problems that we came up with the sewer system, and the other part is what we wanted, which was the fob system, which was like $48,000, correct? $60,000 for the locking system within the entire building. That wasn't designed that way. It was just regular doorknobs and locks and keys, which would have really been hard to manage. So some of this we created ourselves. Some of it was because of the sewer system. And then the FFE was taken off at the beginning, because at that time we really didn't know what the operation of that building was going to be. So in reality, the only new cost is the FFE, which is 135,000 at the end of the project. But because where we are at now, they have to order that stuff now to get it by the time the project is over with. And that's how they make their savings. So even though I know you like to table that, it's kind of a critical moment right now because we're so close to the end.
Yeah. Good, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So if you're not able to wait to get on the agenda for next Tuesday, I just asked for a break because I know that we got an email from Chris Adams that has those amounts on there. I'm comfortable going and checking my email and looking at that because I know that he sent that last week sometime. So, I mean, I think if we just can't hold on, just let me go check my email, then I'm comfortable making that motion. And maybe we can ask, you know, Thomas has been the lead on that. Maybe he can give us some answers as well. Thank you.
Junior?
I just want to, I was speaking with HPD yesterday. They have $60,000 in contingency money still remaining. So what I don't know, that's why I'm getting your figures a little different. So this is what he's saying, that's.
Correct, yep, so within this amount of the 131,780, right? So let's think of it as 131,780, that's the increase in scope. The 135, that's furniture to fit it out. Within that 131, there is a $40,000 contingency in that phase, and then there's approximately $20,000 left in contingency in phase 1. So that's where that's coming from. So if council made the direction to not include that contingency, which I would urge you to not do, because there's always stuff that comes up, right? And everybody's seen that things are changing. But you can remove $40,000 immediately from the 131 for phase 2 scope to get you down to 91,000 roughly. But then if something were to come up, I'd have to come back and request for the funding.
I was talking with, I know she's talking with Junior, but I talked to the Madam Vice Chair, she could find that money so we could make that.
And one other thing, Mr. Chairman, we did have talked, I think it was back in December when I was here, there was some good cost savings that we were able to get during the bidding process in the daycare. Approximately, and I don't have the exact number, but I believe it's approximately $59,000. That's not in our contract, it's sitting just kind of within the allocation in the daycare project. And that was just due to, you know, competition and subcontractors, et cetera, that we kept in that project allocation, that if council would want to move that, that's something you can do, or that those costs are still sitting in that project, that if there's further items in the daycare that we want to do. But again, this is all kind of what we bring to the table in terms of managing these contingencies and dollars, that we can kind of start shifting some of these around. So there is other monies within the 3 projects available if council is trying to look for other sources.
Well, if there's no any other questions, I'll make a motion to approve the supplemental funding required of $131,780. I have a question.
So that report isn't really truly accurate yet either, then, is what you're saying, because there's still money available. And when we talked to Dean, I asked him, and there is still money available from the pantry too, that's still not on the book. So Dean had said that he was going to get a more accurate report because there was still money left over.
The pantry, there's not much in the pantry left. I believe that my contingency amount, and I can report back on that once I get it. Once I get a chance. It's $1,500, $2,000 in the pantry, but there is good contingency funds in the daycare left and available that are not allocated or planned to be spent for anything.
So explain the cost plus then.
Yeah, whatever everyone spent goes back to you.
How does that work?
The cost plus is, like I said, any costs that aren't out there that aren't spent,
Okay.
they go back to you.
And that's kind of what I'm going on because Dean said that he could get us a better report than what that says right now, because there is still things that need to be need to be closed out as far as your guys' budget.
So Dean's information is going to come from me.
Okay.
In terms of the construction portion, right?
Yep.
So I guess skipping that step in the circle, of me going to Dean, there's approximately $1,500 to $2,000 in contingency funds left in the food pantry. There was cost that just came up, extra fill that was needed beyond what we got from tribal road stockpile, things like that came up, that we were able to not have to come back to council and ask for more money. It was all funded through contingency. But yes, Curtis, to your point, like I said, There's still a pot of approximately $25,000 in contingency within the construction portion of the daycare, and I'd urge council not to allocate that somewhere else right now, just because there's always stuff that comes up. But there is, like I said, I think it's 59,000 and change in the daycare overall project allocation, not in the construction portion that's sitting there. That's available. But again, yes, in terms of cost plus, whatever I don't spend, it comes back to you guys to spend somewhere else or allocate to another thing. But I can't reconcile all those numbers until all the final bills.
Yeah, and Dean explained that to us,
Yeah, okay.
so we're good with that. I just wanted to make council aware of that. There is probably some money coming back. I don't know how much yet. He's got to run the numbers, but so I guess my other question is, what is the overall amount on the daycare, not the daycare, the COVID facility then? What does that overall amount look like? Is it 7 point what?
Currently or the request?
Right now is what you're
current yeah. What I'm asking for a motion for?
Yeah, to finish the project altogether.
Yeah, so the total amount would be 7.36691, right? So we would take the 7.1 million and add the $266,961. And then Dean would have some further, Marski would have some further costs, and I believe, Floyd, I'm sorry?
Yeah.
I believe that's on that document that Dean has. I don't have it in front of me, I apologize. Yeah, so there's 40,000 in that contingency.
Before we call for a question, is there any other comment or concern or anything from council? Question?
Yep, and so that would be this and this, right, the 131,780, and
And
then,
if there's no question, I'm gonna call for vote.
and then the request for 135 for the FF&E materials. So that'd be what that's.
Question over here by Louis.
I mean, we should just use these materials.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not.
What is it, 137,080? 137,780?
131?
131,780.
Yes.
Okay, so what is that for?
That'd be the way it's listed on our change order document, so we keep it consistent across, it would be the phase 2 additional scope, is what we're approving right now.
Phase 2 supplemental funding required.
Okay, so leave that 266 number out of the.
Yes.
Going up to 131.
Yep. For now.
Works for me.
Buffalo Lake, question it.
Floyd Burke Jr.,
Yes.
Al Tolan,
So she just has to,
Yes.
she just has to get a report on
Deanna Brown,
Yes.
Curtis Bissonnette,
Yes.
Brandon Dipsy-Wanda, Tribal Vice Chairwoman,
Yes.
Tribal Secretary, Chairman.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
then you guys will just discuss FF&E materials at a different time, and Lisa, I know Dean's gonna sit with you and reconcile a bunch of stuff, and we'll make sure here in the next couple of weeks, you're getting what you need. Sound good? I know this has been a whole moving,
Is there a date we need for the FFE to order?
I'll figure it out.
Council, how you guys doing? You guys wanna go into, finish up D&D, or you guys wanna move lunch break? Go ahead, Madam Vice Chair.
I would like to ask council for a motion. This is regarding our PPP. So I'd like to ask for a motion to authorize Sisto Wapton Oyate to submit applications for Paycheck Protection Program second draw loans for eligible for-profit entities of SWO, and to authorize the tribal chairman, Delbert Hopkins Jr., to sign the necessary documents for their respective entities. If necessary, Weston Quinn, CFO, may also sign for eligible gaming enterprises.
You making the motion, Madam Vice Chair?
Asking for the motion.
Oh, you're asking for the motion?
And this is the second round, correct? The second round of PPP?
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yes, second draw.
Who are you having work on that with you?
We extended, or we have Bruce. Bruce Jones working on that.
Bruce Jones.
And we approved that on the 13th. Yeah, oh yeah, Steve Dunn. We extended his contract on the 13th to work on that. This is just giving signature authority to our chairman, allowing us to do that, and also Weston Quinn if it's needed.
So does, I guess we don't even know that. Okay.
And this is all the things we went through in the very beginning of draw one, so you probably forgot. Now we're in draw two, so we've got to reintroduce who's going to be responsible for drawing these PPP loans and who's, it's just identifying who's responsible for this and authorizing that authority.
No, for the DNGE, we have a CEO now, so shouldn't it be him signing the necessary documents? Instead of Weston? I don't know, he's the CEO, I mean, I think it should come from Kurt.
It would be the CFO, the one who handles the financials, would be the one handling the accounts. He's the money person. He would be the appropriate.
Chairman, are you talking about the PPP? Visiting with Bruce Jones this morning, and I shared it with the vice chairwoman this morning that Magic was not receiving any funds because there's 20 employees too many compared to last year. At 300, I think, was the limit, and they have 320, so they could have diversified their property. They all could have qualified.
So that's why it says if necessary, Weston. So just in case we don't have to come back around for another motion. That's why it's stated.
But I think Bruce's bank has the checks ready. They just needed that resolution, right, Lisa? And then he would bring the checks down, and he needed for the chairman to have the authority to sign off on those checks, our checks.
People's checks. So moved by Tokunoa. Second by Madam Secretary. Question, Buffalo Lake.
Dallas Owens. David Davis.
Yes.
Louis Johnson. Deion Crawford.
Yes.
Curtis Bissonnette.
Yes.
Brandon Dupuis. Floyd Kirk Jr. Trevor Wade Fairwood.
You can.
Abstain.
Trevor Secretary. Chairman, motion passed.
Thank you, Council and Execs.
Council, can we take a short break? Then we'll go right back into DNGE.
Ramya.
From the state legislature, we are also requesting, it's on our agenda at our tribal council, asking that the federal government give us a waiver for the Family First Prevention Act because it is detrimental to our child services on our reservation. So I told Missy, you know, you can do all of this work, but October 1st, you're not going to be able to license anymore unless you ask, your tribe also requests a waiver of the Family First Prevention Act. So that's kind of the history for that, for Missy and the Youth Lodge.
Okay, Deanna. I'll give the floor over to our representative from.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Oh, what's SAMHSA's response to, because that's your funding agency, right? So what's their response?
They, at this point, haven't addressed it at all. And
so you haven't contacted them?
No.
That might be a good step.
Yeah.
And SAMHSA is a federal funding source, so this doesn't really impact the funding mechanism for SAMHSA. It comes to your licensing. You cannot operate a facility that's unlicensed, whether it doesn't matter who funds you. When it comes to child protection, your child protection, the state guidelines will not allow them to place them there unless they have those.
I still have the floor, right? So, but if there needs to be an increase in funding, an increase in, or relaxing, because I mean, you're looking at, I understand grants and SAMHSA, so I understand. So, I mean, if we're not able to open or we're gonna be closed, that has to be addressed with SAMHSA.
Yeah.
That has to be, and if there can be an increase in funding because of these, I mean, if we have to go that route to ask for that increase or ask for, an extension or whatever, I mean, they need to be involved in that. And they should be the first one that's involved in some of those. I mean, that conversation needs to be open. Thank you.
We have our scheduled call with them February 17th, I think. And so I will talk to her about that. So the other thing that, can you guys hear me? I am loud, but I'm not too sometimes.
Second, Madam Secretary has a question.
I just wanted to say something real quick about maybe there's a possibility that we need a tribal council resolution requesting that waiver through the Great Plains tribes in one unified manner. So if you could draft a resolution and bring it back, and then it could be taken to the other tribes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Curtis was just going to say that, he said.
So we have a couple things that we will call them inhibiting factors for us. And one of them is we do not have access to the secure network drive and VPN access. And for us to be licensed, it's one of our requirements to have those files secured. Kevin's going to ask that of us. It's on my list of things that I need to have as part of requirement. So I don't know how we address that with IT on how we get that access. Like we over at the youth department, we don't have access to any of the shared drives. So when I need a form, I need to ask for it from somebody from over here. And so that's an issue that we need to talk about and how we can move forward in fixing that.
If you can write up a request detailing your narrative, detailing your explanation of it, and present it to the executive committee first, and then we can bring it forward to council next week. The executive committee meets tomorrow.
Okay, and let's see, tribal codes. There's a couple things in our tribal codes. We're working on, with housing, creating a sanctuary home in each housing community. And so what this safe sanctuary house is going to entail is just exactly what it says. It's going to provide immediate shelter for kids who feel like they are in imminent danger. Now, I say feel, because we cannot determine who can go and who can't go by a set of rules. So if a child feels like they are in imminent danger in their home or in that community, they know that this house is my safe house, I can go here. And so in order for us to help these homes gain some teeth in providing that immediate sanctuary, we're looking at our tribal codes. There's 2 of them we need to write addendums for, one for emergency services, and also an addendum for tribal codes to include a COVID safety protocol, which some of that addendum could fall underneath that COVID protocol for the safety. The other thing is, one of the things, and we've had this issue for a while with the youth department, when we make a referral to behavioral health for a child, we always have had parental consent or grandma's consent, whoever has custody of the child who we feel needs to receive services. So this is with parent and grandparent on board, that they are in agreement that this should happen. So what happens is we do a referral form to behavioral health. We take it over, it gets done, and then the packet comes into place. I don't know if you guys have seen the behavioral health packet that they need to fill out, and I understand we need paperwork. I understand that, but what's happening is our kids, those packets aren't getting filled out. They're huge, they're crazy huge. And so those packets don't get filled out, and so behavioral health stops. They are not able to provide any services for that child. So what we would like to do is look at our tribal codes, because right now, people cannot receive services for mental health treatment until they're 18 years old. And we would like to address that tribal code and amend it to age 10 or 12. I mean, we will argue that 10 is good, but we will settle for 12. But we really need to look at that. You can be any age and go get condoms or birth control at IHS, but you cannot get mental health services.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Secretary, maybe they could work with you, and you guys could have Kim draft up the changes that they're looking for, and then just present it to us, and we can address it that way. Because I think if we have it go through the process, it's going to take
that would be
3-4 years. But if you work with Madam Secretary, then she can kind of direct.
That'll speed up the process.
Yeah. Thank you.
We will get on that. Thank you. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. So we also looked at our sex trafficking and our juvenile penal codes. I just want to say that in looking at what is in the best interest of our youth on the reservation, and I apologize if I offend anybody by saying this, but you know me, I just say stuff. But we are looking at the housing tribal codes. They're so old, they're outdated. There's no protection, there's no designation of process for what happens if our child is living in filth in a home. There's nothing to protect that child in that situation. It's not outlined in those codes on, we need to look at our protection of our kids across the board on the res. It's just not happening. So we looked at this, and I don't know what the solution is. I really don't.
Missy, Louis ex officio over at housing. Can you set up an appointment with Missy to work with the lawyer over there? Actually, I like their lawyer. That's a real good
Who's
lawyer.
that? Oh, okay. Thank you. That's awesome. So the last thing on my list, well, I actually had 2 things. The last thing on our list is our subawards. we still have not gotten those addressed. Tracy's been working for us since July, and the contract didn't go work out, so we went with the subaward, and we still haven't gotten conclusion and finalization on any of that subaward. We do also, Derek sent over the subaward for the My Journey contract, and that's been in the works since May, and we still haven't gotten conclusion on that one either.
Which one is that?
The My Journey subaward. There were 2 subawards. Well, we started with contract with Tracy, which fell through, and then so we went with subaward with Tracy at SDSU for the SAMHSA grant, and then we also had the My Journey subaward through the rape prevention education stuff for us to do additional lessons in My Journey curriculum. So it's just, I know COVID's hit us all, but I would for sure, like, we can't even do any work on the My Journey stuff until we get that subaward approved. And my last thing is, okay, so we did some things backwards. When we wrote the grant for the youth lodge, they needed names. They needed people who would be part of this grant. And so Tracy was written in, and Sarah McGregor, and Brandy Eastman. Those were the names of people that we approached to help write the grant. Well, Brandy didn't write the grant, but we needed her name on there because she fit the components of that person, and they were pretty specific components of that person for the lead family coordinator. They had to have been in the system or have a family member in the system and also be recovering. So we had we had pretty specific factors in getting that person's name in there. So anyway, we ended up writing an RPE, or what am I saying? No. So anyway, and we got Tracy and Sarah on board the right way. They met the qualifications and they submitted all their stuff. Except for, Tracy comes in under SDSU, which is a tax exempt. They had the documentation, but what happened was Tracy's legal department at SDSU involved the Board of Regents in this process. And he turned around and told SDSU that they did not need to fill out the business license paperwork because they claimed they are a sovereign nation and that they didn't need to follow our rules. And so that's why we ended up writing the sub-award with Tracy at SDSU, because the Board of Regents feels that they don't need to do anything working with the tribes in this instance. So it's bad. The Board of Regents president refused to even have a meeting with us to discuss this because he felt like he didn't need to kind of answer for himself, or even, he said, meeting with you is not going to change my mind. So we have a problem. I mean, I would love to continue my working relationship with Tracy. She has brought a lot to the table and she's bringing a lot into our community. I know it's, I would love to expand the stuff that we're doing at the youth department in so many ways. And for a person...
Curtis has a question, he's staring at me.
No, I was going to wait till you were done, but I had a conversation with her on this issue and this concern, and I had told her to talk to some people, and she stated she wanted to work with that girl, what's her name? Tracy. But the problem was not with her, it was with the university. So I had told her to discuss this with you, Madam Secretary, and I don't know if you were aware of it or whatever, but I was we had a conversation. We just kind of ran into each other and we had that conversation. So I was very excited for the things that were coming, but I was also, and it's basically they don't want to do or get our business license. They want it was like basically on their terms, not ours, you know. And all we're saying is you just need a business license to just, you know.
It was just filling out the.
It was just a process, yeah. That was all. But they're not pushed. I mean, they weren't.
They didn't even have to pay the $100, and they knew they didn't have to pay the $100. It was he just would not fill out the application,
Yeah. So.
saying that he didn't need to do that. And so, what I'm asking is, you know, I have a big mouth, so I have talked to people. I mean, Dr. Johnson is aware of it because she sits on my board for the lodge. You know, we know people who could help us address this situation, but I keep telling everybody, this is not, I don't have the authority to move forward. This needs to be, tribal council needs to be behind this. I mean, I can't say that I can go forward and fight this because, you know, I don't have that authority.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, and I think if SDSU can't even be bothered to fill out a form, then why are, I know, and I'm not saying you, but why are we continuing that relationship?
It's the Board of Regents, it's not SDSU.
But I mean, this is a very simple thing, and we're a tribe. And if they don't want to, if they can't be bothered with it, then we need to just cut the relationship, move on, and find somebody else.
I don't feel like we should.
But wait, no, just hold on. I know that's not what you want to hear, but this should have been, and I don't know why it wasn't worked out prior, but it should have been worked out prior, number one. Number two, if that entity doesn't want to recognize and respect us as a tribe, then I feel we shouldn't have, or the Board of Regents, then we shouldn't have anything to do with them.
So the fight isn't with SDSU. SDSU, Tracy and Tracy's boss are not in agreement with the Board of Regents are saying. I just feel like you have a man who I don't even know if he has brought this to the Board of Regents itself or if he's making these choices on his own.
But if they don't respect us, then I don't think we need to have a relationship.
Gypsy, we got Gypsy over here, then I'm going to turn it over to Junior Kirk.
I know when we get these grants and we have to follow through with all of these contracts and getting everything in place, and sometimes those organizations, they won't sign our stuff, and a lot of times it has to do with our sovereignty, and they don't want to have the jurisdiction with the tribe. That's always been a big issue, and we've ended up not getting grants or certain organizations. We had a grant, but NDSU had to back out. They were the perfect ones for us, but their legal team wouldn't allow them to have us guys have jurisdiction if there was going to be any issues. So, and you know, we couldn't start anything until we worked that out. And it's kind of bad news, but I mean, all of that should have been addressed before you guys move forward. And I know it's a time constraint thing, and we always have all these issues, but that's always going to be a problem. And if they don't work with it, they don't work with us. Because if we end up bypassing all of that, we're going to end up running into a lot of problems down the future with other grants and such. Thank you.
Good, Junior.
Okay, Missy. So you got one guy that's not willing to work with us. You say you know people who know people. What do we need to do? How do we support you guys to move forward?
I just think that it's important that you guys understand this is happening. And one of the things that Dr. Johnson had brought up is getting Native people on that Board of Regents, making sure that we have people sitting on those committees who give us a voice. And so that is step one. And the other thing is we have Tamara St. John in legislative session. She can help us fight this. That is within her realm to do this. And what it is, it's to me, I feel like the Board of Regents is speaking for all of the state entities in this state and representing them in the wrong light. I feel like they are inhibiting progress on both sides. And so this isn't a South Dakota State University issue, it's a Board of Regents issue. They're the ones that are saying, I'm not filling your paperwork out because...
I think everybody understands that, Missy. What I'm trying to do is, if there are requests that you want to write up so we can make a motion and support it, is that,
Yeah,
I think everybody in the room would be willing to do that.
get her done, okay.
Because I think that impacts not only your tribe, but all of the rest of us. If the Board of Regents runs all of our universities and they're saying, we're not willing to work with you over a piece of paper, that's ridiculous. And that doesn't just impact Sisseton, but my tribe, Rosebud, Eagle Butte,
Right.
because of a business license. Seriously, you're gonna stop everything? And it's one person. I read the email and I was like, so he decides for everyone, Board of Regents and the tribes? So, yeah, I'm just curious to see, because I would like our tribe to say this is not allowable, you know,
Well,
we need to
The
be
the
recognized.
request that Missy's going to write up for us, our chairman can take it to the other chairmans and have
Yeah,
everybody do it.
yeah.
Support.
Go ahead, Dallas. Bring the thunder.
So yeah, I'm liking that's the direction we want to go. You kind of touched on where I was wanting to talk to, and if it's a South Dakota Board of Regents issue, I mean, if we wanted to go a different route too, is just like let's get on their agenda, you know, just be like, what the heck, guys, and then because you know this is definitely needs to be addressed. If it's going to affect the well-being of our people, I mean, by all means, we got to keep putting our foot forward here. Thank you.
So write it up and bring it to us, and I think we'll get it all taken care of.
Do you guys have any questions for me?
No.
Okay, I thank you again, and I'm excited that Paulette is here. She is so smart. I always say I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I got smart friends.
Yay!
This is the meets and bounds that Derek wanted me to give you guys, so.
Thank you all very much. I look forward to working with everyone.
Thank you guys for getting us on.
Pauletta. I'm here till Friday, and then I'll be back the week of the 15th. So, yeah. Sure. We're doing a human trafficking training tomorrow at 1:30, and I think they have a Zoom link, or will be at the youth center during this session. Yeah, my shelter is in Kyle, but I travel for the top board and my national board. Because we're just I'm trying to get all of our tribal communities to get on board with these youth shelters, because we need to take care of our own kids. Yeah.
Well, I gotta leave. We should probably.
In Pine Ridge? Oh, who's your sister? Oh, okay. Small world.
Go ahead.
Thanks, guys.
Before I call on Sunny, go ahead, Madam Secretary.
Council, as you know, we have 4 FEMA trailers, and I have 3 bids here. I just don't know what we're gonna do with them, because they're still sitting there, probably getting mice in them. No. But, here's the original paperwork, what it cost to get those FEMA trailers here, and then these are the bids, and they.
So Madam Secretary, we already allocated 3 of those trailers to the housing, and then 1 individual bought them on a bid.
Was I not here?
Yeah, you must have not been here.
She was here.
Oh, was she?
No, I don't remember that.
We had a full crew.
Yeah, the housing bought 3 of them.
And one individual bought one, and the other ones went to housing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
thought
already
we were
done.
gonna put them up for bids.
Yeah.
No, they went out to housing.
We only had 1 bid when we presented it. Yeah. Yep.
Who was it?
Mark.
No, I did not.
Yeah, so it was advertised in a paper, and then there was a closing date on it. Yeah.
So housing got them in the end, anyway.
It's okay. It happens to all of us. It happened to Curtis earlier.
He knew, he didn't even tell me. He just let me look like a fool.
Did? Go ahead, Sonny.
How long can it take, Sonny?
District plans, I got lift stations are in here. Marco had installation fee on there. The amounts on them are, some of the districts, they're like 20,000. I mean, there's installation with about 100. The December bill for quarantine families. District.
Go ahead, Sonny.
So what we got here is action items. The first one's the grocery for the quarantined and close contact families that we provide service for. This was the bill for Dakota Crossings. That's the amount. The accounting code shows where it comes out of, and then the second one is Marco Technologies. When we bought the software for here, for the servers on the installation side, for the Wi-Fi, for installing the switches. The third one is under the public broadcasting, that's for the radio station. The number one's from DJB Radio. That was, and maybe Tom can explain a little bit more on the software and stuff. It needs a sole source purchase, and we also need to just waive the business license because they're one of the only companies that provide it, and they provide that runner on the bottom of the screen. And we can give updates on COVID and stuff for CMB broadcasting for the TV. And number two was for their computers. And that was run through Mr. Gunn. And their plans, there's a few other things that they have that were assessed. I was still wanting to have a conversation with him about, they did have a vehicle in their proposed plan that was approved, but Mr. Gunn, so if we can just have a conversation on that. Long Hollow District Plan, that's just part of their plan that they proposed upgrading their facility. Each district center is an emergency center, through EMS for the districts. Same thing with Enemy Swim and Bakuli under their plans. And then the last one on the last page is for the lift stations at Barker Hill and Bevan Flats, and that was under the housings plan.
Any questions coming from council or the executives? Madam Vice Chair, floor is yours.
So for number 2, the Marco Technologies, what is that installation for?
It was for the on-site building here, the building here. The invoice and the more detailed is here, if you would like to see it. I didn't know if you wanted, and it shows you, it's the router or the Wi-Fi, the switches, and yeah, it's for the building. It was for the building. Huh?
Is this what Berlin was working on for?
No, this is different. Berlin's was for the. We was waiting for a response from Mr. Gunn. We sent him an email and information and we were just waiting for a response if we could proceed with that or not.
Okay, so, I mean, I really would like for us to sit down and go over these amounts.
Yep.
You and I and Greg can sit down. We're still trying to get these projects in order to see where we are with our expenditures. If we could do that, is there anything pressing if we don't do this today? Is there anything that we're holding up that we're going to?
A lot of these are RFPs that we ran through procurement, and the timeline on them was because we were moving forward, and I guess the goal was to have, the executives was to approve and stuff, and then from recommendation, you wanted stuff to go through council, so we sit here today with everything, and these were budgeted in the first. This wasn't part of the extra 100,000 in the district plans.
This is a part of our initial,
the first initial, yep. We didn't even move into that second phase of the 100,000 with any of the districts. We're having trouble with a few of them just communicating with them. I mean, getting responses back if they want a Chevy or a Ford, four-door, with procurement side of it, of getting some of the purchases. We just need them to answer a few questions, so. And a radio station, actually the only thing that was purchased out of that 125,000 that they had was for the towers, which was 22,000. That was Callaway, and we got a motion, and we're actually having trouble with that. So there's something happened with the tower, so we requested another quote from them. So all this stuff is still within that first round of what was budgeted for them. I mean, we're
to our resolution.
Yes.
So I'm recognizing that we had broadcasting and that fell under planning, and they were working on those towers. So that was one of those planning projects that was working with Tom and them for this broadband. Is this the same thing that's identified in our resolution?
In that resolution, it says that the radio station was have a plan proposed and propose it to the executives.
Yep.
That's how it was worded in there. And so when they brought it to the executives, this is what was part of their stuff. And when they ran it through Gunn said that the computers and the software were approved. They had a vehicle. He was a little on the fence with it. He needed more clarification on that, and I kind of just wanted to revisit that with him.
Vice Chair, you said.
Yeah, I was just curious on number 2, and then I knew that the broadband was under planning, and planning was moving that project, but we may have got some confusion going on there when we had that changeover in management. So that's my question is this, the KXWS, is that the same plan that was identified in our resolution? Or is it something different?
The broadband that you're talking about is that when, I forget the gentleman's name in there, he was submitting, and he was submitting an application, and I think before the deadline was for the broadband, because there's a lot of money in the broadband, and there is right now actually to go after to expand broadband within your community or your reservation. Yeah, that was different than what this was.
That was supposed to include like law enforcement that would help with their connection to their dead spots and dead zones. with their radios, and then also allow, I think we had some spots in enemy swim where people couldn't.
I think that plan left with him, to be honest. That was, I mean, because that broadband money was to go after the grant money and to go after a different.
This is not the same.
No, this was the plan from the radio station, they brought a proposal to, and got money allocated under your resolution.
Okay, Dion, then I'm gonna go to Curtis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, a long time ago, you said that you reached out to Steve Gunn regarding some of this. What was his response?
I have not heard from Mr. Gunn, except when we contacted him with Lisa.
So when was it that you contacted him?
I believe a week and a half ago. There's a few things. And if I usually had to contact him, I contacted him through the vice chairman or through my executive. He never really responded to me. I don't think I was high enough on the totem pole, to be honest.
Well, that shouldn't be. I mean, if he's an employee of, or if he's on contract and you're an employee of the tribe leading this effort, which you have been, I don't understand why we're contracting with somebody that can't respond to questions from an employee. So that's my question. The second question is about the broadband stuff. You said that those plans left with him. Left with who?
He was in planning. I forget his name. He was the one working on it that was assigned to it from planning. Was it Mr. Roberts? It was...
Don June.
There you go, Mr. June, yes. He was the one that was assigned to that, on that. I mean, and I was never, and I'm kind of the cleanup guy. I hate to say it, but I mean, I was never afforded the opportunity to be involved in anything. I'm just making sure things are aligned and we have documentation to make sure that we have our I's dotted and T's crossed.
So I just want to thank you, Mr. LeBlanc, for being candid with us about that and answering my question. So do we, Mr. Chairman, have intellectual property that was taken from this tribe by an employee that left? Was there intellectual property that has left because Don June left? And maybe we don't know the answer to that, but that's quite alarming to me. And the second thing is I guess I can do a motion, but I really, with my first question, I really think that there's no reason that Steve Gunn can't respond to the one that's the head of our this DARE effort, this disaster relief effort. And it makes me question some of the other things in the other areas when that's happening. To me, when our people are helping, when we have employees that are helping the membership deal with this virus and they're not even given the decency and the respect to have their emails and their questions answered, that upsets me. Number one. Number two, especially if he's being paid. That really, and I don't know, Mr. Chairman, if that's something that you can resolve with Mr. Gunn, but I expect if he's on contract with this tribe, he's responding to our employees. And then the question about Don June, I would just say I would like to have an answer on that as well, about this broadband. I have no information about this, and so, and I know it's just because of the short amount of time I've been in council and what we're dealing with, but I would like more information, because if there's intellectual property that left this tribe when an employee left, that needs to be investigated and prosecuted. Thank you.
Curtis, then Madam Vice Chair.
I guess when the previous administration came in, they gave us a report on the expenditures, so I'm assuming, Madam Vice Chairwoman, you got everything as far as the updated payments and stuff? Because we got it. There was an expenditure of how much was left on each project. And there was also a detailed expenditure that we got that was explaining what the payments were, the payment requests, the payments paid and stuff like that. So I guess I have not seen that yet. I mean, I have not seen an updated one yet, so, I mean, did you get any of that information that we got? I guess, is what I'm asking.
As vice chair?
Yeah.
As council, yes. And previous vice chair did explain to us that that wasn't a completed one, a completed report. We were missing, I think, the daycare and a few projects on there. And where he said it was he was having a hard time getting the actual numbers is because everything was put into one account. So they're pulling information into these respective projects. My team is going through and identifying the account numbers, and we're getting all of that put into their respective projects. So that way we can run that report quicker. Right now, what's holding it up is that because that didn't happen in the beginning, it's hard to keep that information current without having to go in and sift through it. So once we get these accounts in order and we pull these expenditures in there, and any POs coming from this point forward are using those accurate account numbers, then we can run reports quickly. But until that happens, and that's why our previous vice chair had that difficult time in running us an accurate current report, is because it was all placed together. These projects weren't out. So we're in the process of doing that, and as soon as we can get that done, then we'll be able to see where we're at respectively. And that's, I mean, there's been a lot of expenditures, and we're talking like $24 million. 15 million of that is what the CRF is covering, and that's a huge, 15 million is a huge amount of expenditures and transactions that my team's going through and trying to get in order. And this has to happen anyway, because when it comes time for audit, they're going to want to see our expenditures by project. So we're in the process of getting these records in order, and I can give a better, clear understanding once we get that done. We're working on it. We spent 2 days trying to get that in order, and that's working with our comptroller and our CFO and the bookkeepers who've been assigned to some of these accounts. And so it would help me, maybe Sunny, if you, and Greg, my team can get together, because a lot of this transaction, and I still don't understand what DARE's responsible for versus what my office is responsible for. This changeover happened before I really got in there. And so if now you're responsible for that, and in our last executive meeting, I did ask that if you have a hard time getting a hold of Gunn, then go ahead and come to me, and we can sit down and call him if we need to, just as we did with the previous vice chair. And I'm glad to help with that. I will reach out to Gunn and let him know that there's been a changeover in personnel, that now, Sonny, you're the one that he should be looking for emails from. I don't know. I don't understand quite this transition from things moving from under the vice chair's office over to the DARE program, or whatever happened there. Wasn't a part of that.
So should we just table this until the next one?
So yes, please, because we're seeing expenditures here that's happening under the DARE that I'm not catching because it's not coming through my office to factor into what's remaining and what's not. It's confusing for me.
Also, Sunny, too, I was kind of wondering with the sound system in here. Verlin's not there. Can you see where he's at on that, too?
Yeah, we were waiting for the response from Mr. Gunn on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm going to go back to Madam Secretary.
I'm going to make this real short because I'm hungry and I'm starting to see spots. You know, it's been 3 weeks now that we've been asking these questions and asking these questions. You know, it hasn't been 15 million since in the past 3 weeks. And what I know, and I don't know very much about tribal finance, but I do know that there are going to be requests for payment and expenditures every single day. Probably since we've been sitting here, there's probably been money that's been expended by this tribe. So that's going to be a consistent thing. and I'm gonna say this, if there's a way that we can help, please let us know. Because I've requested information, I've gotten wrong information, I haven't gotten information. And I need these things to be able to do my job. And so, if there's a way that we can help, please let us know. Because I'm getting to the point where I don't know why we can't pay these. This is an employee that has been consistent, that has been committed, and why we're questioning, and why, you know, like with the sound system, why Gunn isn't responding. You know, I mean, I think, if I can help, please tell me, please let me know how I can help so that we can get this, because I think that putting that account up for the audit, I guess I don't know, the audit's gonna happen, and it's gonna happen the way it's gonna happen, no matter how our accounts are split up. You know, and I think that we got a spreadsheet from Mr. Adams that seemed appropriate and seemed accurate. I'm just at a point where I want answers. And I want them now, because this is just really important. And so I really hope that, you know, from the 3 executives that are supervising Mr. LeBlanc, you know, that he gets the support that he needs, because he's doing a really tough job. And so I hope that we're not doing things that are making his job more difficult, because I will take issue with that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Madam Secretary, Tokunoa, Gypsy.
Okay, I just wanted to note that there is an accounting code on here, and it's 107. So we should be able to pull those financials for 107 and see that there's money available to pay these bills. And I guess if that were the case, and these were all approved, we should be able to pay these bills. That's what I wanted to, the point I wanted to make. So pulling the records for 107.
Dallas? We'll get there.
So I definitely disagree with tabling this for now. I see that there's authorizations for Long Hollow, Enemy Swim District, and B. Cooley. And so I'm just going to go ahead and make a motion to authorize those 3 district purchases right now, because our districts need help.
Those are district projects, and that expenditure has been approved. And it's just, I need to, on the top ones that's outside of the district stuff, I just would like to sit down with Sonny and see where he's at with that, and get with my team so we can figure this out. I mean, I didn't realize this was what we were doing today, and if I would have known we were talking about expenditures, I would like to have been included. I know in the last executive meeting, when you came through, I shared with you that we felt like there was no carryover expenditures left. So I recommended then that we just put a hold on all of this until I can get a grasp of where we're at. So I know that was communicated.
I'll go back there.
And you know, as the vice chair and responsible for the finances, I think it's only appropriate that I ask that that you come meet with my office and we get on the same page, because there's a confusion here as to who's doing what since this transition me into this seat. There's been some changes that I'm not clear on, and I've shared that with my executives.
Is there a second? Then I'm going to go.
What's the
discussion?
To do what? Executive session? Oh.
No, there's a second there. We can go in discussion with your questions. But if you need to use the bathroom, Dion, go ahead, because we're still in discussion.
No, I don't need your vote.
Okay. Go ahead, Gypsy.
So I can make my comment now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, I agree with Dion that obviously this is an important issue. I'm agreeing with tabling all of this, because we've never have been able to get a complete answer on how much coronavirus, how much of that funding is left, and that's from the previous administration, when we'd asked for that for the whole time. And I just wanted to support Lisa in her endeavors to get this all straightened out. We can't expect her to get the answer all right now when she's just been put into that position, and a lot of the things have been taken out. Some of the stuff's not even going right through her desk and stuff, so I'm okay with her having them all meet and getting together, and that's what all of the programs and all of our projects should be doing anyway. Before we're spinning off and going off anywhere, we should always have that in line together, so if it was entered in correctly to begin with, we wouldn't have to be wondering where we're at now. And that went from the beginning, so I say let's...
Curtis.
Harassing him, let her get it.
Also, that when this transition started, Madam Vice Chairman, you were in the conversations with that. You were getting up to speed for a couple weeks, from what I'm hearing. So I don't understand the comment, the need for you to have more time to do this when you are already transitioning into that position. So to me, if these expenditures are already allocated in our resolution, then there should be money there, and it should be paid. And I agree with Dallas. There's district stuff that's still sitting here to be purchased or waiting for approval. So if it's in one account, it shouldn't be that hard to go in and look at and see. And Madam Secretary said there's account numbers on here too, so that shouldn't be hard. It's just a matter of getting in there and getting these expenditures. So I'll question that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Call for vote. Lake Traverse was the second. I'll get with you, Sonny, after this.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you just read me the motion, please? Okay, I'll say no.
They've been through Gunn.
No response from Mr. Gunn as well on that topic. And I can forward you the email if you would like.
Thank you, Troubles. Also on execs. Go ahead.
And I apologize. I don't mean to cause any rift or anything. This was, I have people calling me consistently on this. We tabled this from the transition time, so it's been about 3 weeks that we've had to make any payments. Mr. Adams, Mr. Chris Adams is our comptroller. He has a detailed report, and when he's pulling the detailed reports from accounts payable, who is Jenny Payne, she has, it shows you the day that the check was purchased, what the purpose was, the accounting number. The detailed report was not given out to the public because it had names on there, and we had over 6,000 checks coming out of the emergency assistance program alone. So, and it's on a spreadsheet that he did have. The latest one I got was dated January 4th. I've passed him in a hallway. So he's able to pull it from after the check's made from accounts payable and just move it over into the spreadsheet that he has. He should actually have a pretty accurate actual number of the accounting of what we have on the balances. I mean, the thing that we didn't really get to sit down with Mr. Adams and do was sort out to make sure that we had, because we paid Bruce out of one line item, but it was for the daycare and the food pantry, and that was that addendum to his contract. So we needed to make sure that that was parted. I mean, there was a few things that we just needed to reorganize. I have not been able to have a conversation with the finance people, and I just asked him if he had it updated, and he just said that he was working on it, and it should be pretty actual. And I mean, and he does have your records for you. We just gave the pie chart out with a detailed report, has all the resolutions, and he labeled them on the bottom on tabs that should have every things regarding to the resolution, the public, the DARE, the emergency financial. It should have every transaction and every check with the check number and who was the bookkeeper, who was, and who put him through. So I just kind of wanted to make sure, because when they're saying previous administration, I was part of that. So we do, so we do have pretty accurate. We just didn't have enough time to get, it sorted. So I just kind of.
Vice Chairman.
So I just spent the past few days with Mr. Adams, with our CFO, and we did that. We're going through and we're separating out these expenditures. And what he's doing is he's identifying those expenditures and he's putting them in these accounts that he had to go in and establish. So that's what's happening. And we're working on it. That was not done. Maybe a few, but not, the majority of these expenditures went to one place, and we're pulling them out. I spent 2 days with them. I dedicated Monday, Tuesday solely to these COVID expenditures, and we sat down all day going through them. And according to him, that's where they're at. They're sifting them out and putting them into their respective accounts.
I do have, I don't know if this was brought to the attention, Dean Marski with the IT building. This invoice was back in November. It just didn't get, he's asking for payment. It's $25,805. I didn't know if he brought it to the vice chairman or not. But that was work completed on getting the plans and everything for the building on the architect side of it. So, and that was, that was part, but he's asking for payment, and due to, we got authorization for the chairman to sign forward, this bill comes prior to giving him authorization, so we would probably need a motion for that. So, and if we're gonna take, I just wanted to bring it to attention because I have it on YouTube, so if Dean can't say that I didn't bring it up. Because I was getting thrown under the bus. Because I had everything on hold doing, prior to the transition. The only thing that's actually moving is the incomplete applications and the internet for our youth. That is the only payments that come up on a consistent.
I'm not seeing any no expenditures or no vouchers are processing through the vice chairman's office. And I've been told that finance has been told, their workers have been told that those no longer process through my office. That's where I'm saying there's a confusion as to this change from when this ran through the vice chairman's office previously to the exchange of it going over under the deli and the DARE. Whatever that exchange is that took place, I'm not seeing those expenditures come through. So when it's happening here, I'm not aware of it, and I should be aware of it as the vice chair of the tribe. I should not be excluded from any of this routing through my office. So I want council to be aware. I have not had any of these expenditures route through my office as they had previously. So that's why I am not sure where we're at. I would like to get on the same page with my finance team and make sure that we've got, what I do know is that these expenditures were not broken out by, according to our resolution, we'll go back to 56B, that resolution defined every project that we were going to use these care fundings for. And under those projects, they were given award amounts. Council approved those. Those are the accounts I'm talking about. I should be able to run a report and see where we're at with each respective account and know what we have left, be able to follow up how far are we on this project, are we almost done, so I can begin to project what's left. But because it was in one, I'm not able to see where we're saving money in a project where I can reallocate to one that's over or close to being over. So I'm in the process of getting that clarified. And I just hope council, and like Travis, if you said if there's anything that I needed from you is just to be patient until I can get in here and get this straightened out. I'm working on it. It's a priority. Thank you.
Yeah. So timeline. I need to know how long I need to be patient before I have access to these numbers.
I'm hoping to have something by the time I give my report.
So next week?
Yes.
Okay. Second thing, I think, and maybe this is, you know, if we're going to continue this conversation, I think we need to go into executive session. And I mean, you know, so, I don't know. I mean, I guess, Mr. Chairman, that's up to, I think if we're going to continue this conversation, we have this employee here that's making this request. I'm prepared to make a motion to pay these. They need to be paid. They have account, you know, like Madam Secretary said. So I make a motion.
I thought we already did that.
It's just the 3 district ones.
Oh.
And I don't mean to interrupt, but the 3 district ones were the priority. They're the ones that were actually quoted out. So the rest of it we can have roundtables on. I know everyone's hungry. Yes, I mean, I didn't, and it's a lot of it's spelled out once we sit down and I get a conversation with the finance people. I can straighten it out and help understand, and we can pull all the ledgers for all the line items individually and once we have that conversation and I assign them to what they need to probably pull, then we can probably get all the information for everybody. Okay. And then we'll so if we could just table it, I didn't mean to.
Well, then I just want to finish up. I don't want you to feel like, you feel however you want, but I hope that our conversation here amongst ourselves hasn't made you feel like you have responsibility in that. If there's questions or perceptions that I have, that's on me. So I don't want anybody to feel like, because of what I'm saying, we're going to take it out on Sunny. I mean, I really hope that doesn't happen. Because he's never come to a, you know, no, from what I'm seeing here and the questions that I have, those are very concerning to me. So I really hope nobody takes anything out on him, because he's doing what he is supposed to be doing. And I'm concerned with, I'll just say I'm concerned. I share the same concerns, and I think that maybe we need a resolve for that, and I'll bring that to the executive committee, but if you're comfortable tabling those, then that's fine. Otherwise, I'm prepared to make a motion for those. Thank you.
Secretary.
The only concern I have is Dakota Crossing getting paid, because you're still going to have people in isolation and quarantine that are going to need groceries.
There's a motion on the floor here, just calling for vote. Motion on the floor. There's a second? Second by Madam Secretary. Is there a question? If there is no question, I'm going to call for vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Abstain.
Thank you, council and execs, and if we have no further business, we're gonna adjourn. I'm gonna ask for adjourn. Then we'll talk about the store issue. So moved by Kakiza Haska. Second by Tokunawa. We adjourned at